Hey everybody, it's Merlin here, and today I'm going to talk about a little anime that I recently watched. I actually checked out Godzilla Planet of Monsters, or is it Planet of the Monsters, actually, and I don't want to pronounce the Japanese name. But yeah, I was actually fairly excited about this, and the weird thing about it is that honestly, I feel like it was kind of a no-brainer for a long time. It's something that a couple of my friends on here and I joked about a couple times, was the concept of, okay, a Japanese anime about Godzilla. Why hasn't that happened yet? I mean, I guess that being a kaiju film, it's kind of in the realm of most of them have to be guys in suits, live action. I get it, that's the craft, but you know, a proper anime. I think there was like a 70s cartoon or something, but that wasn't really typical anime, I think. I might have been a bit Americanized, but yeah. So finally we have one. It came out last year, and I checked it out on Netflix a little while ago. A couple days ago, actually. And to be honest, I didn't hate it. That's the thing that really kind of surprised me, is that it was definitely very different. I definitely would say that this film has taken the Godzilla franchise into a different direction for sure. Now, basically, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, it's one of the few Godzilla movies that takes place in the far future. It's not really in the modern era, and basically it's kind of a reboot once again, where Godzilla has arrived, and once he arrives, he destroys the world, essentially. Like, they try everything they possibly can, and they can't stop Godzilla, so humanity leaves. Because coinciding right with that time, apparently these aliens who don't have any place to be have been searching the galaxy, or the whole universe, trying to find a place to live. And they find Earth, and they're trying to see if they can fight Godzilla, because we gotta be here. This is the one planet we have discovered where it is habitable to us. But they can't be on it either, because they don't have the technology, I guess, to defeat Godzilla. They try everything. They mention dropping 24 warheads on them at once, and it doesn't even phase them, so they just leave. And so we pick up with humanity trying to discover habitable planets, and trying to set up a colony, and they're trying to find one, and it doesn't really seem like it's working out. They find one planet, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to leave it there. And we have our main character, who was a young child during the evacuation, and his family, I believe, gets killed. Or he witnesses the devastation of Godzilla. It's imprinted in his brain, and then we kind of see him really struggling to deal with the authority, because it's gotten so bad because the population of both species, I guess, is really, really low somehow, and it's got. I think there's only 4,000 people left combined. I mean, at least of humanity, but they don't have enough people they don't have enough resources to feed everyone there or take care of everyone, so they volunteer people to, hey, you want to go out and see if this planet works, and they just, old people, including people he cares about, just die. So he realizes, as much as he hates, I guess, the politicians and the leaders, he doesn't really hate them. He hates the fact that Godzilla and the devastation he caused is the reason this is all happening. And so this human character hates Godzilla, completely. And he kind of strikes a bond with one of the aliens. And the interesting thing about the film is that and I guess this is kind of where it gets a bit divisive, is that, and I'll talk about this in a little bit later, is that it's not exactly a Godzilla film. It is and it isn't. I think I read a couple blurbs for some reviews. There actually weren't too many. There wasn't a lot of buzz about this for some reason. And one of them said that it was an anime first, a Godzilla movie second, and I kind of can understand why. But basically, he strikes a bond with one of these alien priest guys, and they discover with some research that there might be a way to take down Godzilla. He is emitting a frequency that gives him a shield. It's kind of similar to Shin Godzilla, which I didn't really talk about on here, but if they can detect where the sound wave is, they can pinpoint his weakness, destroy that organ, and then it might be easier to kill him. And they say, well, it's the likelihood of us being able to find this one planet and make it work is so unlikely that we might as well have a better chance of going back to Earth and just trying to fight Godzilla again finally, because we're not having any luck finding any good planets. So this guy and a couple other people say, what the heck, maybe there's a chance, let's take the risk. And so they go back to Earth, and yeah, the whole time, essentially because of just the warp drive and the bending of space, and they're just so far out now with their technology that basically they have not aged. Time has not gone by for them anywhere near as quickly. I think it's thousands of years that have gone by on Earth. So they get back there, and all of Earth, kind of like in After Earth, that terrible movie, everything is evolved. You know, everything is a lot like Godzilla. It's imprinted with this radiation. Everything's bigger, and the moment they go down there, everything goes terrible, and they get attacked by these horrible, like, pteranodon flying lizard things, and a bunch of them get killed. And they're like, oh man, the one leader's like, you know what? This is already going badly. This is not bad. We got to get out of here. And the main character is like, no, you're a coward. And we have this our one chance. We came here to fight Godzilla. And then the priest guy's kind of like, well, let's kind of navigate our way out of here, go through this territory, see if we can learn what we can about Godzilla, but we won't try to kill Godzilla just yet. We'll just gather information. So he's kind of balancing between the two. And I think, I almost suspect they're trying to make it so that you dislike the authoritarian guy, the leader. But the thing about him, I understand his point of view, and it's good writing. I mean, that's one thing that really sold me is I don't hate the main character. I understand his anger. I understand his pain. I understand why he wants to do what he wants to do. It's legitimate. The other guy, he's like, he doesn't want to give up, but he's afraid to lose more people because the population's so low that humanity is on the verge of being destroyed at this point. And they want to try to keep everybody alive. And so I can understand him being pragmatic, but they try to strike a balance. Now, getting more into spoiler territory here, spoilers, even though I do like the protagonist, he's also the kind of guy that is willing to kill himself and sacrifice himself to kill Godzilla at any cost. And the other guy gets killed. And so the priest guy, pretty much just because I guess he thinks it's destiny or whatever, and he's got the most say at this point, says, you'll be our leader now. It's destiny. And I'm thinking, and he gives a little speech, which is okay, but I just kind of feel like everybody there is like, well, we don't really have any other options, so I guess we'll follow this guy, because I like this guy, and he is kind of charismatic. He's a decent leader. But the guy that is willing to basically go into a suicide mission against Godzilla with very little knowledge is probably not the individual I would want to follow in this circumstance, but whatever. Anyway, they continue on, and they find Godzilla, and I guess one of the big aspects is one of my initial fears about this movie is I don't really like the fact that it's CGI anime. It's done in the typical anime style, but it's 3D. It's CGI, completely computer generated for the most part, and generally I don't like that. I don't know why. I think the rendering or the colors, the textures of it just looks off to me most of the time. There are very few anime that are completely CGI or even 50-50 that I don't typically like. It just seems jarring to me. I typically like the more traditional 2D, maybe with spurts of CGI. One example of one of the main reasons why I disliked the new Berserk series 2016, and a lot of people didn't like it. Honestly, I was glad they continued the story, but I just couldn't get beyond the animation. It wasn't particularly well done. Now, I still prefer the 2D animation generally, but for a CG animated movie, I thought this looked pretty well, because unlike anime like Berserk, where it was really kind of clunky and everyone looks robotic, and it didn't seem like it was quite animated completely. This was a movie, and I think they put more time into the fluidity of the animation, and for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. I was surprised that I actually enjoyed what I was looking into, and I really like the fact that it is kind of going to this sort of epic space opera, and I'll continue on with that. But leading into that, the CGI element, I think one of the big things about this film is how does Godzilla look? And, I cannot say that it is my favorite Godzilla design, but for this particular style of animation, it does look like Godzilla. Like, I was thinking, if you're trying to transfer more modern versions of live-action Godzilla and put them in anime form in this CGI style, that's how he would look like. And he did look, I felt like there wasn't as much detail around him. Like, they were trying to keep his scales really dark, not overly green, so he just kind of looks sort of like a blob. But then there are certain scenes where it's like reflecting the light and you could see a bit more of his detail. but he's supposed to be this big imposing force that is very alien, I guess, and I recognize him as Godzilla. He's not unrecognizable or anything, and he does have a lot of destruction, and he seems very intimidating, and I didn't hate it. I did not. The thing is, he's kept mostly in the background, and there isn't a lot of direct contact with him until the encounter, when they encounter Godzilla. And I actually thought it was scary. It was scary. It had a very strong horror vibe to it, and this is Godzilla as more of an evil, ominous force, as opposed to a hero, which I'm okay with. They're kind of going back to that, I guess, in more recent iterations, except ironically in the new American one for some reason. But I don't know. I'm not sure why they're doing that. But anyway, basically they fight Godzilla. They're losing because it's Godzilla, and even though they've got super futuristic mechs and whatnot, they're still getting decimated here. The main hero basically finds a way to get into the weak spot. They take him out, and they kill Godzilla. Okay, and we're more spoilers here, obviously. And I was kind of watching this, and I was like, I heard that this was going to be a trilogy. I kind of found out about that a bit beforehand. I was talking to my friend Justin. We were planning on doing a little podcast about it, but I just figured I'd talk about it here because, scheduling and whatnot. But basically, he kind of mentioned that to me, and I was like, okay. And as I'm watching it, I was like, wait a minute. So is this gonna be? Are there gonna be other monsters? Because I was thinking this was kind of cool. Like I liked seeing this, but at the same time, I'm like, this is Godzilla, and this small band of futuristic tech, equipped people took him out. But I'm like, this is a guy that withstood nuclear warheads and didn't get what? I didn't get that. And then more spoilers. There's kind of a twist. Apparently there are multiple Godzillas, and Godzilla spawned other Godzillas because there's this crushing sound as the earth shatters and rumbles, and out of this giant cloud, classic anime, alludes to this huge force, and it's Godzilla, which is almost the exact same design as the Godzilla we saw, but they know, okay, this is Godzilla, and he's grown, and he looks slightly different. I think they added a bit more detail to him, but mostly he's just bigger, and they're like, well, we're retreating. We're retreating. and then it kind of ends with a little end credit scene, which I was like, I guess that'll lead into possible interesting things, but I won't even tell you about that because I didn't really care about it. It was like, I know what they're gonna do basically, but I wasn't interested. But anyway, I guess now that I've gone over the plot summary of this film that most of you that are interested have probably already seen, I'll talk a little bit more about what I liked about it. I think that, as I was saying, I think I can understand why people would dislike this movie because one of the big complaints of many Godzilla films, and I've even complained about it, is a Godzilla movie should have Godzilla. It should. And this movie, with the exception of a couple flashbacks, we don't really get to see Godzilla until maybe the halfway point, and even then it's only in spurts, which the 2014 movie did kind of the same thing with. And I was like, okay, we're trying to build it up, create some ambience, trying to create that sense of dread, build it up. But then when we get it, we just get too little. And I feel like what we got with Godzilla was interesting, but I don't know if I'd say it was fantastic or awesome. I think they used him in a very interesting way. He was menacing in the background as a plot point, as something to strive and fight against, but I don't know if I'd necessarily say Godzilla was a character in this necessarily, which is fine, I guess, in this particular instance. And I really enjoyed the science fiction angle because a lot of Godzilla movies, they have that strong sci-fi angle, and this one actually takes it far in the future. It creates kind of a scenario which really reminded me a lot of, honestly, futuristic space operas like Mass Effect. It kind of gave off that similar vibe to me, and I liked the concept of Godzilla being the cause of mankind having to flee Earth and meld with this other alien society, and they develop their own weird religion, and and there was a lot of political handling of how they're going to deal with handling the perception of Godzilla, and a lot of the people that are fighting Godzilla have never even seen him or were not even born. They were born in space or were extremely young, so they don't remember. And if they're going back to take a home, they don't know because it's that thing that they dream for because their reality is just so dim, so bleak. I liked that concept. It was something that is honestly a story that hasn't really been told in the Godzilla universe before, and so I was actually mostly okay with that. I liked the world. I liked that unique sense it had. I liked the details that they did flesh out. I was really interested. Like, as I was watching, I got that little bit of Godzilla at the beginning, and I was expecting to hate it. But I was genuinely interested in the backstory of some of these characters and the bit of the world we did get to see. I was engrossed in the plot, and it's a lot of buildup of, should we kill Godzilla this way? Is it worth it? Do we have enough fuel to do this? And I was like, and there was kind of that clash between the religious and the scientific and the aliens and the humans is kind of subtle, and I found that interesting. I found that all very interesting. When we got to Earth, I think it kind of started to feel like a little bit of some pacing issues there. Like, okay, when are we going to get Godzilla? And we finally did, and I actually was pretty into it, ironically, until they kind of fake killed Godzilla, which I didn't really feel like was the case. I was like, all right, there's obviously something up here, because that was too anticlimactic. But then they just said, oh no, whoops, there's a bigger, badder Godzilla. That's the original one. I was like, that's could have come up with something a little more interesting. I don't know. That was, and then it just like, okay, cliffhanger, and then we got more movies. And I can't say that I'm not interested, but I want to learn more about the world that Godzilla created than Godzilla. I mean, it's just going to be more people. I guess they're hinting at. They said that other monsters came in the invasion, and they were going to use Mechagodzilla, but that it wouldn't turn on at the beginning of the movie. So they could have other Godzilla, related monsters, other Toho monsters in there, but the way Godzilla looked, I didn't really get to see him in action too much. He was mostly just kind of a still figure, and he shot. I will admit, when he shot the little bursts of atomic breath, like you just kind of really did get that sense of devastation, like. The little ship gets clipped, and I will say, I have to say, it was pretty cool. I mean, I feel like by Japanese film logic with the Godzilla movies, it's kind of par for the course that anytime there's a massive military force, particularly planes that are just going to fight Godzilla, they're screwed. And I'm thinking to myself, I know that they're futuristic, and it is kind of a cool scene, and I do think these characters are very brave. This force here, they've got nothing to lose. And they're attacking with futuristic technology, but they're attacking him with essentially air bikes, like jet bikes. Just like 400 guys on jet bikes going to fight Godzilla. They're gonna get creamed. I was just like, oh man, you're just gonna get fly off, and just Godzilla has like this really precise aim where it's like beam, beam, and people just get clipped and they're on fire and they're done. I'm like, well, yeah, like I don't know, but for the most part, for being a fairly serious Godzilla movie, I feel like for the most part I actually kind of enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd say it's necessarily the best Godzilla movie, but it's one of the more interesting Godzilla movies. It did something different, and I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the world, but Godzilla himself and how he was handled, I don't know. Like that's kind of where it's a bit more iffy for me. But on the whole, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I kind of wish it had been more condensed, almost. Like maybe they could have actually killed Godzilla. Maybe some of the other characters could have died or had their arcs completed, and then, okay, there's hope again. Maybe stretched it out another half an hour, fleshed out the world a bit more, fleshed out Godzilla a bit more, maybe, instead of making more movies. I'm not sure if that was necessarily the best way to go. But, yeah, on the whole, I really enjoyed it. So I guess that was Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, my thoughts about it. Yeah, so that was something anime-related that I wanted to discuss on here. I'm going to try and get some more videos out to you guys. I'm kind of going through a little bit of a kind of a retrospective resurgence of this channel in a way, Godzilla resurgence. Just kind of, I'm looking for the right word here. My channel is going through a bit of a rehaul. I am working on trying to get really good content out to you guys, and so what I have to do is kind of just start really trying harder on my videos. And as you guys know, I'm a bit busier these days, so got a lot going on, don't have as much time to devote to things, but I do want to get you guys something in the meantime. People really want character analysis videos, anime character analysis, so I'm going to try and go back to some of my favorite shows, some of my favorite characters, and discuss them. And Probably try to work on getting those videos up there, maybe go through some classic films, some classic series I haven't talked about on here, and maybe some other movie or comic book related stuff kind of as time goes by when I'm really feeling it. Otherwise, I'm going to try and get the podcast going. I'm going to try and interview some more YouTubers and maybe have some other people on that I know just to talk about more focused discussions, and try to keep them a bit shorter. And I'm going to try to amp up my camera that I'm using, trying to improve that. I'm having some issues with my mic because I really want to use this mic, but I had to get some more equipment and fiddle around with it. So trying to work on some technical upgrades and some formatting, and yeah, trying to see what we're doing for the new year. But hope maybe you'll get more random videos like this where it's just me talking when I can. But anyway, that was a little update to end my Godzilla review of the Godzilla anime. And side note, watch the first couple episodes of Devilman Crybaby. Know that I'm kind of behind on that, but I have been enjoying it thus far. My favorite thing about it is that they covered the same ground the whole OVA did back in the 80s in like a 20-minute episode. It was so fast-paced. I'm like, if I didn't know anything about Devilman, I might be a little confused, but I like the fact that they brought the 80s gore and camp and made it all stylized and really artsy and really fluid. So I'm enjoying Devilman Crybaby, but yeah, that's pretty much the anime and stuff I've been watching. But yeah, guys, any requests for other videos or suggestions or ideas, send them in and I'll take them into consideration. Alright, everybody, have a wonderful week, I guess, and hope you guys enjoyed the movie, and let me know what you thought about it below. Stay magical.